But I mean, still, the point of the matter is that I was still very disappointed. And the things that I was looking for, that I kind of mentioned last week with like trying to see how the line developed and all of those things, really just blew up right in my face, because the line just did not look good. Broderick Jones had been hyping him up. He did not look like that talent that we wanted. And I don't think that he's necessarily not that talent that we want, but I definitely think that he looks like he's struggling. Now, could he be hurt? Could he be playing through an injury that nobody's kind of disclosed, like nobody's talking about? Maybe. I mean, he's not looking like the same type of player that he was even last year. And with all of these players, I mean, obviously some of these guys are rookies and some of them are young, but the problem I mean, they're obviously probably not necessarily going to be day one ready, but it's still kind of a struggle when this line is trying to form. And every year we're talking from, the Steelers fan base, we say every single year, oh, we're going to get better. This year, like, we're going to be a top 10 line. And then we always seem to just fall really short of it. And not that it's going to happen, but it's really frustrating when some of these players just aren't meshing and not working. And obviously Russell Wilson is known to be getting sacked a lot. I mean, he's probably, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know for a fact he's one of those quarterbacks that's known to get sacked a lot. And I mean, it's going to happen. So I'm not expecting this line to just hold for 20 seconds, but I think that there's got to be some sort of fine line here where these players need to really come together and actually do anything. And honestly, I think to an extent, I think you kind of have to start blaming for these O-line troubles Pat Meyer, the offensive line coach. I think it kind of comes down to the coaching and whatnot, because at a point you can't start blaming. I mean, obviously you kind of have to be frustrated with these players. Like Broderick Jones did not play well. Yes, I'm frustrated with how you played, but also you kind of have to see like what Pat Meyer is doing and how he's developing these players. I don't think he's genuinely developing these players to their fullest extent. At least I haven't seen it yet. And it's kind of concerning going into the next couple of weeks, because obviously this is our last week of preseason, which is exciting because you kind of get to see how all the players mesh together, whether it's, your starters, your second tier, your second string guys going into your third string guys, and seeing how everybody meshes together against these different players. But I think what's most concerning is that obviously you have these guys that aren't looking like they're ready to play. And obviously the elephant in the room with Herbig now being hurt as well is also a huge, huge loss, because now most likely one of the rookie guys are going to have to go in. I think people are talking about, Frazier going in, which I think he could be ready, but it's one of those things where from what I've seen, I don't know if the line necessarily is ready as a whole, which is concerning, considering the teams that we're going up against this year are not going to be easy. I mean, we definitely have a very difficult schedule, and you're going to need a good line against some of these pass rushes, and it's kind of concerning. And like I said, I know Russell Wilson is known to get sacked a lot, but I want also some sort of confidence there too, especially if Russell Wilson gets hurt or he gets pulled. Justin Fields has been a scrambler all of his life in Chicago, and it would be really nice to just kind of, although he's going to be a scrambler here too, it'd be kind of nice to have the line so that he can feel a little bit more comfortable in the pocket instead of always having to scramble, because it always seemed like he was having to scramble. So yeah, I mean, I'm just very much disappointed in how the team looked. There was just no offense, and I feel like there could have been a lot more factors with it, but I really think it starts with the O-line. And I'm sure there's going to be some Steeler fans that may disagree with me on that, but I really think it's Pat Meyer and the O-line to start.
So on that same note, let's take a look at this guy here, Zach Frazier, rookie center. Now that Herbig's gone down, he is, as you mentioned, very likely going to be the starting center for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. Do you have concern? First of all, he's a West Virginia alum, so I don't know how I feel about that. But also, do you have concerns about a rookie center kind of making the calls with a fairly young O-line and then two new quarterbacks? Do you think that's going to impact the chemistry of the offensive line and could lead to some pre-snap issues? I mean, we already saw that with Justin Fields earlier in the preseason. There was some fumbled snaps, and you don't want that in a regular season game.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think there kind of is a little bit of that concern. Not that I don't think Frazier can do it. I just think that obviously I think it's some extent, a lot of like Frazier and a lot of those guys, are not, some of them aren't expecting to start right away. And Frazier was not one of those guys that was expecting to start. Herbig was going to start. So I think by him being like by Pat Meyer and the coaches being like, all right, well, you're next up now, and I think it also gives him that butterflies and stuff, because obviously he is a rookie and he's now going to have to lead this offensive line with a brand new quarterback, a brand new offensive coordinator, and there's just a lot of struggles and a lot of different issues that could arise. And I am a little concerned. I think that he can handle it, but I think it might be a little bit of a struggle over the first couple of weeks just for him to get his feet wet. I mean, this is the NFL now. You're moving on from West Virginia. Not that, I think West Virginia is going to be a lot better this year from the college standpoint. And I think he played for a relatively decent team last year. But I think that going into this year, I mean, it's like I said, it's the NFL. You really have to adapt to the heavy hitters and who you're going up against. And it might be difficult. It might really be difficult. And it's concerning. I mean, looking ahead at our Steelers schedule, I mean, I'm just going to kind of pull it up because I don't know it off the top of my head, but I mean, we have to go against the Falcons week 1. And I mean, I think we could probably win that, hopefully. But I mean, then you start getting into some like tougher games as the stretches go down. So hopefully, if this O-line can hold itself, that maybe Frazier will be ready for some of those heavy hitter games like the Cowboys and some of those games closer to week 7 and 8 and further on. But it's still a little concerning, definitely concerning.
But that Falcons team could be sneaky good too.
That's what I mean. And that's why I said maybe. I think we could win that game because it's one of those things. They got Kirk. They got some guys down there.
But I mean, even on just looking at the defense, they just brought in Matt Judon, who he can upset games. They have Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates now.
A crazy safety core.
Yeah, that defense. AJ Terrell at cornerback. Troy Anderson's decent at linebacker. The defense alone can create some problems. And if you're concerned about that offensive line, Matt Judon may just be blitzing the entire time as a pass rusher.
And it might be tough, especially, I mean, it's not easy for us, obviously, for our first 2 weeks to not be in Pittsburgh either, considering we have 2 very new quarterbacks and a very new offense. So it's going to be kind of a struggle. Obviously, I mean, you're going week 1 against Atlanta. Hopefully, like I said, maybe it'll go a little bit better. But then you go up against the Broncos. We really don't know how that's going to be with Bo Nix. I mean, and obviously I know Pittsburgh isn't that strong of a team in Denver. Sometimes we always seem to kind of struggle. Maybe Russell Wilson will be a little bit different considering that's his old team. But it's still one of those things where it still brings concerns because sometimes it's out of the quarterback's hands and it does land in the laps of your offensive line or whoever it ends up being.